Good evening, everybody. Matt Geary here for the Geek Pridecast on this Sunday evening, this bank holiday Sunday evening. No guest tonight, I'm afraid. Pete couldn't make it, and the guest, there were some issues, so it's just me and John Joe tonight. So, John Joe Cosgrove, welcome.
Hey, thank you very much.
So, how's things? How's tricks? What's been going on?
Yeah, well, after last year having the end of the world and this year having the continuing ramifications, it's just trying to find something to keep yourself busy. It comes to a point when your most talked about thing in your life for what's been at least like for the last week so far, and I've got to mention it, is a film trailer. The Spider-Man No Way Home film trailer basically just took over everything else. Almost like every conversation I was having with almost any other human being was like, "Oh, did you see that trailer?" It's like,
you reckon
I'm sure there's other things we could talk about. Yeah.
Do you reckon that dropped simply because it was leaked and they had the option?
Well, this is the thing, because I'm sure we all did see it. There was it was basically the same trailer that you see that actually came out from Sony early Tuesday morning, but it was very ropey CGI. There was some very iffy scenes, and even if you looked at the image of Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus, you could just see how bad that CGI was, even on a camera phone, because that's some way of trying to get around from sharing the image. But yeah, it was very much it was almost like oh shit, yes, we weren't going to put this out for a little while, but we should maybe do this now. We need to make sure that people don't see this and think, oh, this is like a load of arse. We need to really step our game up. But to be fair to them, that trailer did look fantastic, and it does everything you want a film trailer to do. It teases, it builds anticipation, but it doesn't really tell you what's going on, and that's what you need.
You get a lot of trailers that literally just tell you the entire story of what's going on in the film, and you're just like, oh, there's nothing to the imagination there. But it'll be interesting. I'll be interested to see Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire and stuff.
That's if they're definitely in it. Even though it's all but confirmed, they still haven't actually been named on any of the material and any of the press. But I had a theory on this that I reckon we're going to get at least another trailer for Spider-Man before it comes out. I reckon about end of October, beginning of November, around about when the Eternals comes out.
Right.
I reckon that'll be the trailer, and the last shot is you see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield sort of like, in silhouette with Tom Holland. It'll be something like that. They will go, well, we're not going to exactly see them, but you'll know pretty much by that time. Yeah, they're there. They're there. And
do you know what?
Yeah,
on a slightly side note to it, but yeah, I would probably agree. It's going to be something along those lines. But talking about Tobey Maguire, like, I watched the film, and what's it called? It's got it's basically about poker games. I can't fucking remember the name of it. It's about illegal poker games, and it's got your man's I can't remember the name of the actor who's in Superbad, and Juno, and
Michael Cera.
Sarah, yeah, that's it. He was sort of meant to be playing this sort of Hollywood, because it's based on a true story. He's meant to be playing this Hollywood actor who would literally was a bit of a shitbag, and apparently he is it's Tobey Maguire that he sort of meant to be playing, and apparently Tobey Maguire's meant to be a bit of a shithead from what I've been seeing from him. Obviously opinion, so not like he's ever going to watch this and sue us, but
oh yeah, can you imagine he comes up to us and
you call me a shitbag.
I'm going to get my lawyers onto Geek Pride tomorrow. No. I think this story's gone around. This story's gone around for years. There's always been these people that have been very up in arms about him, and I think it was even when Spider-Man 3 was being made. Apparently, he was making such radical demands for the film, and his pay, I think, went up from something like $3 million for Spider-Man 2 up to like 25 million. So that's a massive jump for any actor.
Wow.
And then if Spider-Man 4 had been made, apparently he would have been receiving a paycheck pretty close to what Robert Downey Jr. was getting for Iron Man. So it's quite mind-boggling, really.
Yeah, so I've seen some other bits and pieces. I'm a bit, obviously have to be very mindful that what's on the internet is on the internet and it's not the truth and stuff, but it's quite damning, to be fair, but it's just like, you just obviously take it with a pinch of salt. So yeah, so we'll see, I guess. But yeah, thing is, I have this sort of like, once I know that an actor is a bit of a shithead, then I kind of go off them in their films and stuff, so I'm not really that interested in stuff. So if I think an actor is a scumbag or there's something, I'm just like, I just don't know if I want to watch this film, even if I would have previously liked it. I'm just like, yeah, like it's like what's his name, Bruce Willis.
Yes.
Bruce Willis. Everybody loved Bruce Willis stuff. And then I heard that story that, Kevin Smith did about him and stuff. And then I was just like, sound like a bit of a dick. And then there's some other bits and pieces that sort of came out about him. And I was just like, yeah, you do sound like a bit of... Have you heard
the story about the Expendables 3?
No.
So apparently, but pretty much he got recast by Harrison Ford in Expendables 3. But the point was, Bruce Willis was supposed to have been set for 4 days of filming for that film. And they were offering to pay him, I think it was equivalent of about $3 million for 4 days' work. He said, I will do it, but I want 4 million. So basically 1 million a day. And they just went, well, no, you're basically getting paid more than any other actor in this movie. We're not going to give you that much money. And then he just went, well, I'll go then. I'll go. Good luck with trying to find someone else who'll take that kind of money. Yeah.
It's just,
thank you.
The thing is, I don't, back in the day when he was sort of like the action hero sort of thing, he could maybe make or break a film and stuff, but it's like, it hasn't done loads or anything that is sort of any major note. He has a cameo in Ocean's fucking 12 or whatever it is, and it's just like...
Yeah. I think do you know what? I know it's not the best comparison, but he kind of went like the Steven Seagal route, because he's done a lot of films that are either like very quietly entering the box office or direct to DVD or streaming or whatever. He doesn't really seem to have many films now that have him as like this bankable name. And, like you say, back in the 90s, he could be in a Die Hard movie. He could be in, was it Death Becomes Her?
Yeah.
That's still a fantastic movie.
I love that film. Love that film, yeah.
He's so fun. But that's what I mean. He could do comedy as well as action perfectly well. And, I think it's just over the years, he has just become such a diva. He's someone who's like, it's like basically he's like the male version of Mariah Carey. It's like, I can't dare, step on this ground unless it's all been like, treated with whatever I want. And, I won't come out my trailer unless you've given me whatever on the buffet table. And yeah.
200 brown M&Ms in a brandy glass, or he's not going to go on stage.
Yeah. But, and this is it. I think this is what ruins a lot of actors' reputation. And then, like, not only do they go on a bit of a huff, but they purposely try and destroy the work that they're doing. One of my favourites was Wesley Snipes in Blade Trinity. And if you watch that film, you can see just how bad they tried to make that movie around him and how much he really did not want to be in that film. Even to a point they actually filmed him when he was sleeping, and they actually CGI'd his eyes opening for a scene because he would refuse to wake up for the shot.
Fuck
And
me, man, no way.
yeah, seriously. And do you know what? The first time I watched that movie, I did not notice that. But then when you see a lot of the shots, there's a lot of like body shots where his face is obscure, or there's a lot of close-ups because he didn't want to be on set with some of the actors, and then there was just I think he just got to a point where he like a quarter of the way into filming, he just went, no, Joe, I don't want to do this film. But because he was being paid so much, and because he had so much say over the production, they had to go along with it. They had to try and make it work. And and let's be honest, this was a film that basically gave us one of the first big breaks for Ryan Reynolds, who
he didn't like Ryan Reynolds or something. I think he didn't get on with Ryan Reynolds. Yeah.
He hated Ryan Reynolds. He hated David S. Goyer, who was the director / writer. Let's be honest, who doesn't hate him really? He has wrote some pretty shit films. But Wesley Snipes just really just went, right, well, yeah, I've got such a promising career. I basically, made this almost like quite obscure comic book character a mainstay in Hollywood. No, I'm going to fuck it up now. I'm going to do whatever I can to absolutely ruin it. And you could tell this movie was just so badly pieced together. And there was even a point, apparently, he was communicating to the director, to other cast members through post-it notes because he really did not want to talk to them.
So bad. And then he ended up in jail. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, and what was that? After that, he then, funny enough, he went to the Expendables 3. And I think it was like a escaped prisoner or something like that in the Expendables. So
yeah,
I can't remember exactly, but but what's he done since then? He's done very little. I've not really seen him in much movies, really. He's had such a.
I'm trying to think what I saw him in last.
No, Coming to America he was in, wasn't he?
Oh shit, he was, wasn't he? Yeah, he was. He was the general Coming to America.
But that was it. That's the last thing I really have seen him in. And before that, like I say, was probably Expendables 3, and that was in 2014. So that's and it's bad because I always used to really like Wesley Snipes. He is a fantastic actor when he puts the effort in, when he's actually, doing his part. But I think he's kind of like learned that he did act a bit too dickish, and it's like, I should sort myself out now. I should, go a bit better.
Well, it's like if people do that and stuff, that's fine. But then you get actors and stuff like Keanu Reeves and stuff who are, renowned for being just awesome people and awesome guys and really humble and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's just like it was the same with who's been in the news recently. Fuck! Oh, I'm so bad.
For good reasons or bad reasons?
Well, no, he was in California Man and National Treasure. He was in Scrubs, that episode of Scrubs.
Oh,
Brendan Fraser and stuff. Yeah, because apparently he's meant to be. He was like such a nice guy, and then a lot of stuff happened with him, and
yeah. Well, he had. I think he quit a lot of film roles that he was being offered because he was saying about the damage that had been done to his body doing action films, in particular the Mummy movies. Apparently, he was so insistent on doing his own stunts that he suffered a lot of like muscle damage and a lot of broken bones in between. And it was going around online, wasn't it, about a month or two ago, when some woman was basically reading out all these Twitter comments about how much people loved him. And he was breaking down in tears, from sheer happiness. And it was it's quite a sight to see. It's quite a thing when you actually see an actor who honestly, is showing gratitude for the love and the attention that he's been given. And Brendan Fraser, I don't think gets as much recognition as he does deserve because he has done some very good stuff. And even mentioning Scrubs, the episodes of Scrubs that he's in are fantastic.
Yeah.
And and it's definitely probably my favorite episodes of the show as well.
Yeah, the one where he dies and stuff, and it's just like, where do you think you are at the end and stuff, and you're just like, oh my god, gonna well up here.
That did get me that first time, but then I rewatched it so many years afterwards, And I was trying to think, what was the point of it, where it goes from like him being alive to dying? And someone said to me, like, look at him in the first shot, then look at him in the first shot of the second half of the episode. And the first thing I noticed was he didn't have his camera, because that was it. He used to just go around like shooting everything. He used to capture everything for his memories, like for his memory book. And then, when you see that, you're like, oh shit, yes. How did I not notice that? And then it goes very Sixth Sense kind of vibes. And
yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
I'd like to see. I mean, he's kind of had a comeback, ain't he? Because he's been doing Doom Patrol. He's been.
That's right. He was in Doom Patrol, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, and he's been cast in the new Martin Scorsese film as well. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago he had that casting. So, you know what? If this is the start of his comeback into Hollywood, I'd be very happy to see that. I'd like to see where he'd go from there as well.
Yeah. Talking about Keanu Reeves and stuff, I'd be interested to see how this new Matrix film pans out. I'm just a bit sort of,
because they've announced the title now as well.
Yeah.
The Matrix Resurrections.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm sort of hoping it'll be good. Bearing in mind, sort of like, the John Wick films and stuff. But then I'm just like, yeah. He's a nice guy, and maybe he's just doing it for a favor, or I don't know. It's just like, because I think he's the sort of guy. If some, other people are like, "Hey man, I need a film. I've got nothing else going on. Do you fancy doing this?" He'll go, "Yeah, sure, okay, I'll do it." And it's like the Bill and Ted's new one wasn't shit, but it wasn't great, to be fair.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Compared to the first two films, I think the third one was kind of like what's the best way to describe it? I think it was a nice send off, but it wasn't matching the quality of what you had the first two times.
Yeah, it was. I think I put it. It was neither bogus nor non-triumphant, nor either. It's just sort of like, it was just a bit of a middling ground thing. It was good because there was a lot of sort of nostalgia in there and stuff, but it was like, I think he'd passed that stage. So when you see him going back to being Ted, you're just like, oh, that's really odd. When I've just seen you kill a guy with a pencil and stuff, it just doesn't seem sort of...
But then you look at a load of these films. We've had so many where a film franchise has been revisited after 2 or 3 decades, and then they're still trying to find that winning formula again. We've got new. I mean, because I don't count the 2016 version at all, but we got new Ghostbusters in November, and I'm actually really looking forward to it. I actually rewatched the first Ghostbusters film a couple of weeks ago, and it's one of the movies I can still really sit down and I can watch the whole way through. I can thoroughly enjoy it, and seeing the Ghostbusters Afterlife trailer, like the most recent one, because they basically, they've gone past teasing now. It is basically telling you a lot of what's happening in the movie, but I really am looking forward to it because it feels like a natural progression. And at times we are going to get these movies where they're going to become legacy films instead of direct sequels. They're going to be continuing a tie or a story thread or something like that. But people like familiarity. People like continuing with what they grew up with. Doing these full remakes and reboots are all well and good, but because you've got people that have a personal connection to what came before, to go, we're going to skip all that. We're not going to have any of that. We're just going to plonk you into this brand new story, but you might recognize a couple of things. It just doesn't sit right. And this is why Bill and Ted was popular. And as you say, Face the Music may not be the best film, but it was still really good. But that's why there's a lot of hype over the new Matrix movie. If they'd just done a straight up Matrix remake or reboot, I don't think it would have had any attention at all. I think people would have just gone, nah. But because they said straight away, yep, it's a sequel, it's got Keanu Reeves back, it's got Carrie-Anne Moss back, I think because of that, people are like, yeah, okay, we'll give it a go. we've gone so far ahead. Let's see what comes up. And you know, even Tron. You know, when we had the Tron sequel,
Legacy,
yeah, I actually really enjoyed Tron Legacy. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, Tron Legacy wasn't too bad, to be fair.
Yeah. And it, you know, it was a bit. There was a few bits I think kind of did go a bit silly, and it was a bit hard to make sense of. But it was a sequel at the end of the day. It was a true sequel, and I thought it was a lot of fun. And Joe, I've got to make one more mention of another sequel I thought really worked well. Blade Runner 2049. Could have done about half hour less. I think they could have really cut a good few bits of the material. But apart from that,
yeah, it wasn't too bad. To be fair, yeah, it wasn't too bad. Yeah. All right. So we'll see. We'll see what happens and stuff.
Anyway, that was a good segue from talking about Spider-Man to get all the way to there.
Yeah, that was sort of moved in.
And speaking of sequels, before we go on to the next thing, you know, it seems to be a big trend now for a lot of films to cap off a trilogy. Because technically, if you don't count Ghostbusters 2016, Afterlife is going to basically be the third of a trilogy. Bill and Ted's Face the Music was a third of the trilogy, and it happens for video games as well. And I've got a little visual aid for this one, and this is a game I've actually been really enjoying so far.
No More Heroes.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever played that.
No, I will say I do think No More Heroes is still quite a niche franchise, because it's what I like about it is that it's a piss take on video games. But it's not just that, but it's also a piss take on many different aspects of media. And what it was, when this got announced, about 6 months before, there was a very, I'll be honest, it was a very shitty spin-off that they'd done, a very cheap spin-off. And they tried to keep some of the humour, they tried to keep some of the stuff that worked in the first two games, and it just really didn't work at all. But the guy who made it said, well, if this is popular enough, we're going to do a No More Heroes 3. Now, most games on their production cycles are around 3 to 4 years now. Right. This game got announced in June of 2019. And originally, it was due for release around December of 2020. And I can tell you right now, for anyone who thinks, well, hang on, you just said 3 to 4 years for a video game to basically be made. Right. This is intentionally a very shoddy and very shitty looking game in places. It does play at times really bad, but that is one of the only games that could ever get away with that, because it's intentional.
Is it intentional though, or is it Death Zone going, somebody will buy it because they think it's intentional?
I think about 90% of it is very intentional.
So what's the premise? What's the premise behind? I've never played them. So what's the premise behind the game?
Well, the first game, and basically it does it second, third as well. The first game is basically you're an upcoming assassin, and you find out that there's this world title, basically this world ranking, and you start off as a lowly assassin, and you take out the number 10 assassin. They say number 10 assassin in the world, but it all takes place in this very GTA rip-off kind of map called Saint Destroy. You kill off number 10. And then you basically get told, right, well, now you can rise the ranking. So, but you got to do each one at their level. So you do like the 9th ranked, 8th, 7th, you work your way up to the top. Now, you just think, oh, yeah, you just find each of these bosses, go head in. No. To basically, add to, the fun and to make you do all side missions, you have to do little jobs and missions to earn the money to pay to this organization, so you can go and fight these assassins and bring your rank up. And these jobs may be as simple as, taking out a group of mafia bosses. It might be, doing something as mundane, such as like mowing the lawn or collecting coconuts that have fallen on the ground. Just shit like that. But it's so silly, but it's the humor in the game. It's just like the quirky characters. And all the bosses as well, especially from the first two. I can only go by the first two bosses of No More Heroes 3 so far that I've actually fought against. But The bosses are just wacky. They're creative. They're very obscure. They're basically so over the top and so crazy that each one of them leaves a lasting memory. So when you finish the first game, you basically are at the top of the assassin's rank. You're number 1. Second game basically begins. You're almost killed. Your ranking gets knocked down to number 50, and you got to try and make your way back up. But lucky enough, one of the battles you do, you take out 42 of the bastards in one go, and you go, "Oh yes, you're now the 8th ranked assassin again." And then that's his way out. Now, No More Heroes 3 changes the formula, but it doesn't. So basically, you're the number 1 assassin on Earth, but this time aliens are involved. Aliens invade the planet, and they basically want to destroy the world. And the only thing that's stopping them is your character, as he tries to take on the alien top 10. But would you believe it? He still has to earn universal space credits to be able to fight the bastards again. But it's just so silly. I love it because it's just this crazy bullshit game. And at times you play it, you think, why do I get into this? But it's because of that. It's because of it's stupid. It's the humor. There are times when the game is so patchy. There is a few times where even like the audio doesn't sync up with the video clips, and like I say, some of that might actually be need a patch. But there is
it's intentional, Joe. It's intentional.
But then there's bits like some of the cutscenes are like anime style. Then you got some of the gameplay bits are like very 8-bit and 16-bit. So it's got that very classic feel to it, and there's some very repetitive scenes. The way you save the game, you go and sit on the toilet because that's what you do to save your progress. Can I just say, and also just to go with all the rip-offs, your main weapon is called a beam katana, which is pretty much a knockoff lightsaber, and it has a very limited battery life. And anyone who has ever played the first 2 games on the Wii or played them on the Switch, that to recharge your beam katana, you have to shake the controller up and down quite rigorously.
No.
I will just point out it's an 18 certificate. All 3 are 18 certificates,
right,
so you know.
All right, okay.
But all I'll say is if you've not had the chance, the first 2 games are also available on the Nintendo Switch as well. Have a go at them. I swear there is no other game series like it. It's not the most technologically advanced. It is not the most unique. But I tell you what, there is very few games you will ever come away from thinking, I enjoyed that, but I don't know why I enjoyed it. Yeah,
you do get sort of silly games like that where you're just like, okay, that was ridiculous, but I kind of enjoyed it and stuff. So like what was I playing? So I got the new Xbox Series X. So I did the sort of monthly pay thing, which is awesome. Like paying like £26 a month or something like that, and you get free. We don't get free, but you get Game Pass with Game Pass Ultimate with it and stuff. So I had like all these games, and I'm just like, I just needed a mindless one that I could sort of get through, to sort of keep me busy until something else I was interested came in. So I got Manhunter, not Manhunter. What's the shark one called? Where you're basically a shark and you go around.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. I can't remember. I'm gonna have to check what it's called then. Shark game. Maneater. That's it. Maneater. Maneater. And you know what? Surprisingly good. Mindless, sort of like being able to sort of go around and chomp on humans and stuff, and like, jump out of the water, and you can literally jump out of the sea, land on the beach, grab somebody and bring them back into the water and stuff. And it's mindless and it's silly and it's over the top. and you get mutations that do different things like teeth with electricity and stuff like that. And it's just like, yeah, you know what? It's actually quite good, and it's quite graphic as well and stuff. And you're like jumping like there's these pleasure boaters and they're in their little pleasure boat. You just jump out of the water and land in the boat and just start eating one of them and stuff. It's just, yeah, it's a bit ridiculous, but yeah, it was quite good.
I think you need games like that now and again, though. You just need a good video game that you can just play because it's stupid, because it's mindless.
Yeah,
it helps. You know, it really does help you.
But yeah, I got that, and obviously, as much as I played a bit of No Man's Sky, which I played for a while, and it's not too bad. No Man's Sky, a bit sort of, I don't know, it wasn't fully gripping me and stuff. I tried Elite Dangerous, because like my dad used to play on the Atari ST back in the day, and my brother, he had it on the PC and things. I was like, oh, it's on there, I'll give that a whirl. But then I was like, oh, this is going to take forever to learn and stuff, and it's going to eat my life away. And I was just like, I'm not sure if I can do this at this moment in time. So I moved on to when obviously Aliens Fireteam Elite came out the other day, and I've been hammering that. So actually pleasantly surprised with it and stuff. Katuku, is it Katuku? What's the name of that fucking website? Gaming website.
Kotaku,
yeah. They were all like, yeah, this isn't a good Aliens game. And I was like, I'm not sure if you were playing the same game as me and stuff. Like, it's not perfect, and it is very sort of, when it comes to that sort of type of game, there are a lot of other games like Left 4 Dead and Vermintide and World War Z even. They're all sort of kind of, they've got the same sort of principle, you know. You've got hordes of enemies, different types of enemies, they swarm towards you, you defend yourself, blah blah blah. But for a game that is based in the Aliens world, all you kind of want is hordes of aliens coming towards you and you being able to sort of blast the fuck out of them and stuff. So, you know, I'm quite enjoying it. It's quite intense at times. Like, I started off doing it on my own with bots, and then I've been playing with my brother and stuff. And it's a lot better when you've got when you got people and you can sort of kind of go to your left, to your right, and sort of like bring it on. Because the bots are a bit, they're not, the AI isn't too bad, to be fair, because they do actually try and heal you and stuff, but they run around with you. So if you get to a point where there's like three areas, and it's like one of you should be going left, one should be going right, and one should be looking forward, just so you can sort of keep an eye on everything. They just follow you, so they're not really sort of kind of working out different areas and stuff. So when you've got different people, it is. So I'm quite enjoying that, and it's just good because you've got your bog standard aliens, like we talked about before, and we came on. You got your bog standard aliens. You've got your sort of prowlers who basically jump out and ambush you. You've got ones that sort of explode. You've got the main sort of soldier ones who are absolutely impossible to kill. They come charging towards you and grab you and stuff. And then you've got like androids and things like that. And it's just like, it gets pretty sort of intense, you know, especially if you're literally sort of, you've just got stuff flying at you the entire time, and you can't, there's only a couple of times where you can kind of sit still. If it basically says prepare to battle, because you've got to press a button, basically means you've got to set up your sentry guns, you've got to set up your mines, and you've got to get ready and stuff. And that's the only time you get any real respite, because if you sit down, you can't pause the game. Once you're in the game, you can't pause it. If you're there in the game, that's it, and you can't stand still for too long, because you stand still, they send more aliens at you and stuff. So, and it's like one of these ones that you don't just clear an area. Generally, if you clear an area and you wait around, more will come back, so you have to keep on going, or else you run out of ammunition. And it's got to a few times where I've been on my handgun left and just been like panicking because there was no ammunition around, and it's not like it's around all the time, so you have to be very sparing with it and stuff. So I'm quite enjoying it. I think for what it is, you know, and especially like you said, it's probably going to have a lot of DLC. I think it's really promising, and I'm quite enjoying it and stuff. Yeah, quite samey in certain ways, but it's like it just sort of, because it ramps up the difficulty, and it makes it just sort of that bit harder, and you know, and it's not like you've got choke points all over the place where you can essentially just funnel them in, because the aliens climb over everything. there'll be certain doors you go, oh, well, we'll hold this door and stuff, but they're like coming over through the tunnels and through these things, and you're just like, they're behind you litter, and then you get stuff that's jumping on you, and you're just panicking because you're trying to run around trying to not get bloody killed.
Yeah.
And so I'm quite enjoying it. I think it's a pretty good game.
I think another thing to take from that as well is because it's only just come out this week, but it's not a full Jesus, I'm way too tired. It's not a full price game. It's £35 on average, which is considering that a lot of games now are coming out at 60 odd quid. That's quite a good price. Okay, you've got to have the online for it. You've got to be able to be able to play online at any time on this little beauty. But I think it's really fun, and I like a game like that. But what I like most about a game like that is, like you say, you've been playing with your brother on there.
Yeah.
Is to have someone else with you, or a couple of other people with you, that can go through this campaign, that can go through these missions, and to expand on that, to really spend that time on there, and then because it's more you kind of forget about the game to a sense, but it's because you're enjoying that sense of fun with someone else. You're having that experience with someone else. That's what I think takes the hours away. I think that's what really gets you to sink into it.
Yeah.
And as I was saying before we even start recording, it reminds me a lot of Gears of War, because I used to love doing Gears of War on the online co-op as well. And you're running through some of their missions. It was just glorious, really. And even then, we're going back 2006, 2007, when Gears of War first came out, and being able to play that online with someone was brilliant. And now that we're starting to get licensed film franchises back into video games as well, and they're turning out to be pretty good. Aliens was always like a dead cert. You'd always think that'd be the kind of one that you could get a good action game out of. And after Colonial Marines, anything had to be better.
Oh, well, that's it. Yeah, Colonial Marines was an absolute shit show and stuff. So everybody's a bit sort of like, oh, they're bringing out an Aliens game. It's got to be good. And I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. And I think with a lot of some DLC and stuff, it could go pretty far and stuff. So we'll see what happens. But
I think this is what's happening with a lot of games now. They kind of get to a point where they go, right, we'll give you so much of a game. If it works out well, we'll support this game for a year, 2 years. We'll bring out new maps. We'll bring out new characters, new weapons, and see it happen with stuff like Destiny. I mean, the Destiny games, they don't need to ever make a Destiny 3 now, because even number 2 is still getting new DLC all the time. That's still getting supported.
Yeah.
How many games now have even just gone on to like the free format? They don't even charge you anymore. It's just like, if you're willing to pay for skins, or if you're willing to pay for upgrades, fair enough. But then, this game you can play for as long as you want. And, you mentioned about your Xbox. We now know the 8th of December will be the day you can finally get Halo Infinite.
Yeah, boy. Can we not wait for that?
Hopefully that will actually be a very seamless release. And for that, I think, I'm going to enjoy playing the campaign, but it's the multiplayer for me. The multiplayer looks so good.
What have they said? They're not bringing out on day one. They're not bringing out
they're not bringing out co-op campaign
and the Forge. They're not bringing out, because they're focusing on the multiplayer and the campaign and stuff, which is fair dues.
Because I think after because it was after last year when they had the Xbox presentation, and most people looked at that Halo Infinite gameplay and they're like,
what are these graphics? It's just got a bit like,
and it's just that image of that alien that they just kept putting on the screen, and like you look at it, you go, that's next gen right there. That is next generation. No,
really isn't.
But then, do you know what? I've got to be honest, because I played a few games on the Series S, which is not as not anywhere near as powerful or as technically great as the Xbox Series X. But I've enjoyed some good games. One I've got to say I really was surprised about was The Medium, which is it's a very Silent Hill-esque horror game. It's got some very good creepy aesthetics to it. Some great puzzles, some fantastic enemies in it, and the gameplay as well, where you're basically controlling the same character who goes between two different worlds, and there's at times you're controlling the same character who is inhabiting both worlds at the same time, and you're trying to go across maps. One path might be blocked, so on the other side you can't carry on, so you've got to try and find something to get through. And
okay, that's a good idea. That's a good principle.
if you're not, it's not a long game. I think it's about 10-12 hours, but to me, I really enjoyed it, and it's got a really good story to it. If you're willing to play through it, if you're willing to explore, it's quite deep and it's quite disturbing in places as well. But that was like one of the first games I really got sunk into this year, and I really did enjoy it. Halo is definitely one that I'll be looking forward to getting onto, and I still got to do Flight Simulator. I see so many videos from Flight Simulator, and it looks so good. But the only thing I think is
that's it. It's sort of like people keep on banging on about it, and it's like what people get in it and they just fly past their house. That's all they do. They could fly to their own home and stuff.
I'd like to see how low you can fly down as well.
Yeah. So I'd see how that way. I'd just be interested to see. I'm not very good with flight simulators. We're saying about earlier. We're saying about Star Wars Squadrons and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just I suck at flying games. I'm so bad at flying games. And the only reason I would play Flight Simulator was just so I could hop into a light plane and check out my house if it was there or not. And that's probably about it.
Yeah, I think what was the I remember Flight Simulator from years ago when a friend of mine had it on the PC. And he said, "Oh, do you want to have a go at this?" And I sat down to it, and I was like, "What the fuck do you do? There's just so much on the screen. There's like all these different, like all these different buttons and knobs and all these different dials and everything." I thought, I'm sure I'm going to press one button, and this is just going to crash into the ocean or something. I really did not know what I was doing with it. It just looked so complicated, but don't get me wrong, I like a game like that, especially something that does show off, like you go, God, you can almost see like the real world from this plane. But I'd say from that kind of thing, like you say, once you've checked where your home is, once you've done that thing, what more would you really want to do on it? That's the only problem I find.
Yeah, it's just one of those, they're sort of, I suppose certain people are really, really get into them, and you actually get people who sort of kind of role play it all, and they have like, they do sort of, what's it called? Traffic control and stuff like that, air traffic control and stuff like that, and they sort of ask for permission to land and things. You've got loads of them, like people you're really into, like Farming Simulator. One of my mates is really into Farming Simulator, and the Train Simulator and the truck one and stuff, and they're like, and all they're doing is sort of driving from one position to another, and sort of seem to sort of pretty enjoy. There's big followings on Twitch and stuff for them, so. I guess there's a thing. So yeah.
But you do get a lot of these games that are like that, and you get ones like Animal Crossing, which I've never really played before, but I know some people that have had the latest Animal Crossing since it first came out, and they've literally been on it every single day, and they do all this stuff with their island. They will invite people to come and explore what they've done with it. All these different sites that they've built, all these different play areas and everything. And, I get it to a degree, but imagine you're doing that like every day for about 500 days. You're going back to the same game. You're doing a little bit of a tweak here and there. And then you go, oh, yeah, I'm going to show this off now to people. And it's another one, though. It's like, as much as them games can be quite fun, when do you reach your end? Where do you get to the point when you go, I've hit my limit, or I've done all I can?
Yeah, well, I suppose in theory, those ones are the ones. It's like Minecraft and stuff like that. You could literally just go on forever. I get to the point where games like that, where I'll sort of get really into it, and I'll go on for like a few days solid, or maybe a few weeks solid where I'm just hammering it, and then I'll just go, oh, I'm bored now, and then just sort of move off and do something else. But it's like, you can see how they sort of kind of engage people, and I think games like that, maybe if you're not, you don't have a load of money, and games like that where you can sort of spend a lot of time in them isn't a bad thing, because you can. It's like, I have this thing where I get bored very easily with games, and so I move on quite quickly and stuff. So I've got loads of games that I've sort of half played or not not played very much, and so
yeah, I think that's been one of the worst things as well. That over the years I've done that. I've had like a big pile of games, and I've gone like, yeah, I've probably played like 2 hours on that one. I've probably played 3 hours on that one. I don't even think I've opened that one. I've had that for about a year. But obviously, in the last year and a half, where there was nowhere really to go, nowhere to go out, I just cracked through a lot of these games, and almost like on a weekly basis, I was completing another game. And I tell you what, I was like on first name terms with, like, when I was swapping them over like when everything was open again. They go, "Oh, you got some stuff for trading?" Yep. There you go. I seriously, I think over the last year, I must have traded about a good 30 or 40 games. It was just incredible, because it's like, as much as I look at these and I think I'd like to keep these games, I'd like to keep. It's like a lot of these I'd never touch again. I'd never play these again. So it's like they're just going to sit there, and I just went, no, I'll get rid of them. I'm sure someone can make better use of them, and whatever else. And I mean, like the odd couple of games, because when my sister went to uni, I bought her a Switch Lite, and at that time, because obviously she didn't have any games, I said, "Oh, I'll lend you a couple of mine." I mean, I weren't intending to never see them again. We're talking about over a year now since I lent them. I'm sure they're probably just gone now. So, but but it's another one of the things. It was like, because one of them was what was like the latest Pokemon game at the time.
Yeah.
But once I complete a Pokemon game, I don't see the point of going back to that, because I've done what I want on there.
Yeah, I'm the same. When I get past the story games, like I was playing Crackdown 3. Again, because it was I was just mindless, and I just thought I'd go through it, and it's a great game, but I basically got to the point where I completed the campaign, and I was like, all right, you can carry on and do other things. Like, nah, I'm done now. I'm not a completionist when it comes to games and stuff like that. It's just sort of, I've done the campaign now. I'm done. I'm over. I can sort of carry on and stuff.
I think if you do that, if you play a Beyond the game once you've done the campaign, fair enough. If there's stuff to do in it, that's fine. But I don't know. I think I'd get bored, because you see some of these people that can play a game that say it's like a 15, 20-hour campaign. Good, that's fine. But then you see some people that play it for another 80, 90 hours on top of that. They'll play the story mode again on a harder difficulty or whatever. They'll go doing all the collections. They'll do whatever little Easter eggs and that can be found. And it's like, yeah, I'm not too worried about what people see on my achievement list, on my trophy list. I'm just happy to play through a game, play through the main point of it, and then I'll move on to the next one. Otherwise you'll never play another game. You'll be it's like people that somehow put like 400 or 500 hours into like a Dark Souls game.
Oh man, can't be dealing with Dark Souls. I played it once, and I played it once, died lots, just went, I'm not bored of this game, don't want to play it anymore. And there's so much. I don't mind games being hard, but when they get too hard, I'm just like, can't be fucked. If I can't get past it, I'm just like, I'm not going to keep on going. I hate doing stuff over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, I think that's kind of why I got I kind of like the roguelike games, because that's that kind of concept as well. You kind of like start at one point, and you keep going up and up and up, and then if you get killed, you go back to the beginning. Like, you might have learned a few bits, you might have a bit more experience on your character, but then you're doing that again. Some games are fine like that, and then some games are just so tedious and annoying. You just go, I've done this 20 times now. I know this whole section perfectly. I go on to the next bit. I now know that section perfectly. But it's like there's still something that catches me out. And like an hour or two of progress, and you're going all the way back again. It's like, no, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
But you see people that, again, just put in so much time on these. There was Hades, which I've got to admit, I actually really enjoyed Hades. That was a lot of fun. But it's the same thing. You could, if you didn't die, you could probably finish the game in about half an hour. But it's because of learning the moves, building up your character, finding out these secrets, and then you're learning like little bits of story from when you're interacting with the characters as well. It's fun. I technically completed it twice.
Right.
Yeah, but some people say that you could still complete it like 10 times over and you'll still learn new stuff. And I was like, I don't really want to though. I get the idea of where I'm at. I get the idea of where the game is going. I don't really fancy doing that so many times over again because I don't know. I just think like I'm playing it just because someone said that I should instead of make it like myself actually wanting to play it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. But bit of news that's just come up recently and stuff. Ed Astner has died, which is a big shame and stuff. For anybody who knows who he was, he did the voice of the old chap in Up. He was Santa Claus in Santa Claus and Elf. He's been loads of things in his lifetime and stuff, but he died at the age of 91, which is a shame. It's a shame.
Do you know one of my things that I really remember him in, and I know a lot of people don't remember this cartoon well, but he was in Freakazoid. He was I think if I remember rightly, I think his character was actually called Officer Cosgrove or something like that.
All right, okay.
But there was I can't remember. It was like he's watching there was this one of these really good scenes, like when he's in the cinema watching the film, he goes, oh, that one's a real monkey. No, that's a guy in a suit. But that one's a real monkey. No, that's a guy in a suit.
He was in.
You got to kind of watch it, yeah.
He was in Spider-Man.
Jonah Jameson from the 90s.
Yeah.
But he was such a versatile voice actor. He really did. Obviously he did do like proper TV shows as well and films. He was a face on a lot of these, but he voiced so many characters. And even you think someone of such a long legacy, one of his most famous parts, and probably still one that most people go back to for, as you say, was Up. That's and that was such a I can still watch that film and that would still like make me like choke up a little bit as well because it's quite an upsetting movie.
Yeah, it is. Oh yeah, Up is pretty gets you right in the feels.
It's a very lovely film as well. It's one of the movies that is so well put together. It's so beautifully shot, and it's got a nice amount of humor as well. Even if most of it is from Doug the dog, just
squirrel.
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 Yeah. But there's a TV series as well now of Doug the dog.
Yeah.
It's like I kind of would want to watch it, but I just think that's just gonna be like half the episode. It just keeps going squirrel.
Squirrel.
But no, when that news came out about Ed Asner, that was it's incredibly sad when anyone passes, but someone who had such a long, very varied career, to see like you see like the body of work that someone leaves, it amazes you when you go, because like when you see a lot of these people pass, you'll see like news stories will reference like old film roles, old TV parts, and then you get links to like IMDb's and things like that where you can see we can actually see their history, their filmography, and he's one went into the hundreds. You couldn't even name half, couldn't even name quarter of the stuff that Ed Asner has actually created that he's been part of.
It's like obviously Sean Locke died recently as well, and that actually hit me a lot harder than I thought it would, because he's been on TV for so long now. He wasn't sort of an imposing. He was just a known character, a comedian who was sort of in a lot of sort of panel shows and things like that. So you just got used to him. You don't realize how much stuff he'd be in and how funny that guy was. And to die of cancer in 55, 58,
58.
yeah. And just anybody who dies of cancer early upsets me in general, since like, my dad, my grandfather, and my uncle all died of cancer pretty early and stuff, and it's just so, it's, when somebody gets taken from you early, and then you see somebody like that who get, it's just, it's upsetting. Especially, I think I went through a massive, when he died, I just went through and just started watching stuff with him in it, and so I remember that. It's hilarious.
I did the same, because if you look at, talk about his panel stuff, you look at stuff like from, especially like the 8 out of 10 Catsters countdown episodes, some of the stuff he comes out with is brilliant. One of my favourites was the countdown cocktail. If you've seen that video,
yes,
he's literally just like, everything you can think of. A bit of amaretto, and then what was it like? C, cheeky half, and then it's like R, rest of the bottle. And it's just like, it just gets to the point. It's just like,
and then he drinks it as well.
W. It's like W. Just chuck in a couple of whelks, X is eggs. It was just brilliant. It's just he just had fun. And it's just, like you say, he's like, he does it up and he goes, needs a bit more tea. And then I'll tell you what, my favourite one, between him and John Richardson, carrot in a box.
Yeah, carrot in a box.
That is just incredible. When where it's like, yes, you want a carrot and you want a carrot, but only one person can have a carrot. It's like, does Sean look like he's enjoying this? Yeah, I can't tell if he's enjoying it. Is he enjoying it face? And it's just when Sherlock just goes, "Oh, you'll have to ask my wife." And John Richardson just goes, "She doesn't know." It's like, it's just so good. Like, Sherlock was just such a great comedian. And funny enough, even like the other day, started rewatching because there was a sitcom he done years ago called 15 Stories High, which I remember watching such a long time ago. I think it was like mid to late 2000s.
Right,
and he, he's not, to say it in the nicest way, he's not an actor. He's not like your typical actor comedian. He has got a very awkward style on that side. But when you watch him 15 Stories High, his comedy prowess is quite prominent because he's able to take the piss out of things that are right in front of him. He can make situations work to his side. He can change atmosphere. He can, he could just entertain so effortlessly. And even then, when I was watching it, going on a bit of a sidetrack, it's when I remembered that Benedict Wong is in it as well.
Oh, shit.
I absolutely, and Benedict Wong, he's one of my favourite actors of all time. And when I saw him in that, I completely went, "Oh shit, yeah, of course it's him. Why? How did I forget that?" And there's even one of my favourite episodes of 15 Stories High, which is mostly about Benedict Wong, when he's he starts like stealing wallpaper because he wants to wallpaper his bedroom. So he's like taking the wallpaper out of the bathroom at first, and then he just goes to like Sean Lock's he goes, "No, I was thinking of redecorating your bathroom for you." And then he goes into the shop to get some paint made up. And then as he's doing that, he's then like nicking paper from the shop as well. And as the guy goes, "Oh yeah, just one tin of it." Yeah, that's fine. He's seeing right now, he's like pockets and front of his trousers just absolutely stuffed with paper. And he's like, awkwardly trying to run down the road with it. It's like, do you know what? I quite enjoy rewatching that again, actually.
Yeah.
But Sherlock, I think it was one of them ones that when it got announced, like you say, it's a weird way that it hits you because it's someone who's always on TV. It's always someone that you flick onto like a panel show late at night.
He's there.
9 times out of 10, he's going to be there.
Yeah. It was really sad. It was just, I think it was because nobody knew. I suppose over the last sort of 2 years, like I haven't watched a lot of TV. I got rid of Sky and I just been watching Netflix and things like that, so I wasn't really aware of anything that was going on. And obviously he was ill, and it happened, and it was heartbreaking. It really was. It's just sort of, cancer's a horrible thing, and
Yeah.
it just shows you, just sort of can take the best of us away from us.
Well, Stephen mentioned it before we started recording as well. We actually spoke about quite a lot before the recording. It's like there was an issue because we were talking about. I mentioned about Chadwick Boseman as well, because it's a year now since he passed away. And funny enough, I was chatting to Mr. Josh Varney about Chadwick Boseman on a slightly different topic, because I was mentioning about the episode of What If?
Yeah.
That he starred in, and it was one of them things, because the first episode of What If, the one set in World War II, the alternate Captain America one, I didn't hate, but I found myself getting a bit bored when I was watching it.
Captain Carter.
But then the episode 2, the T'Challa one, the Star-Lord, I thought was bloody amazing. I really enjoyed it. It was very entertaining. It was very funny. And the fact that T'Challa basically, made the Ravagers become good guys. He made Thanos, change his ways and stop him from murdering half the universe.
Yeah, he keeps on mentioning it.
He's like, and he's also like a very credible hero. People actually know who he is, and it was like this is just brilliant. This is what a What If episode should be. But at the heart of it, it is Chadwick Boseman that seals it for you, because this was a guy who absolutely loved his craft. He loved acting. And, he did everything he could to have himself in front of the camera or behind the microphone playing the characters that he loved. And in particular, Black Panther was, a role that
is that his last role then?
Yeah, apparently he recorded, they said he recorded 4 episodes worth of material. Whenever the other episodes are going to be, I'm not too sure. But I would probably say, as a guess, the one that we just had, the one with him as Star-Lord, I think that was his last main role.
Right.
I could be wrong. I kind of hope I am wrong. I hope there is another episode where he takes the lead. But, if that was it, that would have been a perfect send-off, because it was such a spoiler alert if you've not seen it yet, but it's a very beautiful ending, because, unlike where Peter Quill never went back to Earth. He ran away from his family, never went to see his family again. T'Challa, eventually goes back home, and he reunites with his father, with his family, and it's quite a beautiful scene when you think about it as well, because in the MCU, obviously King T'Chaka dies.
Yeah.
Then T'Challa takes on the mantle of King. He takes on the mantle of Black Panther. And it goes from there. Whereas this time, it's about a boy who wanted to go exploring, and then but then he realised that family meant more than travelling and everything else, and it wasn't just that as well. But then he brought back his space family.
Yeah. It was quite heartwarming. Quite heartwarming.
It was, and just to have Josh Brolin as well back as Thanos, and he's just like he's like, well, T'Challa's told me that there may be another way to try and help the universe, and then wiping out half of it. And it's like, I found that so hilarious, because the Mad Titan himself is brought down to a peg where you go, he's actually quite a nice guy, really, if you get to chat to him.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on from the sad stuff. Have you got anything else? You had a list of things.
Yeah. God, I'm just thinking now. I will say one thing that I'm very happy about. In the last 24 hours, Netflix have announced, and it's been teased for a few weeks now, but they finally announced they will bring back the TV show Manifest for a 4th and final season.
Not sure I've seen Manifest before.
Now, when Manifest first got announced, I had some very strong 4400 vibes, because it starts off with this flight traveling from Jamaica to the US, and whatever happens, there's some disturbance, and while it's up in the air, some anomaly happens. When the people land thinking everything's all good and all is normal, it turns out that, according to the rest of the world, they've been missing for over 5 years. So, the whole world has treated this plane full of people as dead. they've all been, everyone's just moved on with their lives. The world has moved on, but then obviously all this family and friends, they all start find out that their loved ones have survived. Weird events start occurring, and Joe, let's just say, I used to love the 4400, and when I heard about this show, it almost felt like a spiritual successor.
Yeah.
And when it came on, there ain't a lot of episodes either. It's only like 42 episodes from the 3 series so far. It was brilliant. When it got to the end of season 3, you know that there was still so much more to tell. So Netflix are giving it 20 more episodes, and I think it's going to be split into 2 parts as well. So we've still got at least, I'll say, a good year and a half, 2 years of this show before it finally reaches its end. But if you've not had a chance to watch it, please do. It is brilliant. It's one of them ones that it's got real good suspense. If you really enjoyed Lost, but you thought Lost was a bit tedious, it was a bit stupid, this completely goes, yep, we'll throw that out the window. Let's, it's just exciting. And I really thought, when I was watching that first episode, as much as I was looking forward to it, I was really expecting to go, it's not going to be much. But by the end of that first episode, you're like, yep, I can't turn off now. And it was like episode 2, episode 3, episode 4. And
I think Mr. Ward, Rick Ward on Facebook says, I sat through the first season and that is time I'm not getting back.
I would admit, it's like any show, ain't it? No show is for every single person. You're not ever gonna, captivate everyone. Even was it Cobra Kai? That's been given a season 5, before season 4's even came out.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. First 3 seasons are pretty awesome, so we'll see what happens and stuff.
I know some people that really hate Cobra Kai. They love Karate Kid, but they will not watch through any more Cobra Kai than what they've already seen. And it's like, I think it's really good. Yeah. I really enjoy it because it's like, I don't know, it feels like they took the little joke that came from How I Met Your Mother and they kind of went with it. Maybe Daniel LaRusso's the bad guy.
Astner's in that as well. He's his father or his stepdad even, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yes, yeah. I completely forgot that, actually.
Yeah. Talking about series that people have banged on about, and I've started watching it, was Clone Wars. I got Disney Plus because I got rid of Sky, and it's just like I'm not watching Sky, so I got Disney Plus instead, and I've started going through Clone Wars. I'm just not getting it at the minute. It's like the first season. It was a bit ropey, some good episodes, not great ones, and I'm on season 2, and again I'm just like, I'm just not feeling it at the minute, and like people keep on banging on about the later seasons being better and better, so I'm like, all right, I'll power through and get to it and stuff. So I'm just like,
because I think with Clone Wars, obviously you get so many self-contained stories. You do get a lot of ones that are, focusing on like the lesser known characters and going off on their own journeys. But then you do have that long-running narrative, which, I don't know, I'd say from about season 4, it does start to have a stronger focus on that side, and then it guides its way on to what eventually becomes episode 3 and beyond, really. But yeah, Joe, I do really enjoy Clone Wars, but what I used to enjoy, and I probably still do enjoy even more, was you had the animated Clone Wars, which was made by the guys that created Samurai Jack. Which that's now on Netflix. That's now on Disney Plus as well.
Okay, right.
It's only like they combined it all together, so it's like each part. It's like, I guess if you watch it all together, it's like a 2-hour film. But they were made up of like little short episodes, and then they used to like slot them in between whatever shows when they broadcast them on Cartoon Network. But the animation's really nice, and this was like the animated show that introduced General Grievous. This was set up a lot of the things that came into the Revenge of the Sith film. But then obviously when you had the CGI Clone Wars, which came out in 2008, that kind of like scrubbed what you saw on that animated one. I was like, yeah, we're gonna expand this world, and we're gonna make our own stamp on it from this, because that was what George Lucas always used to say. He used to say that the Clone Wars was like the most prolific thing in the Star Wars canon that he created. this was something that he always wanted to really stretch out. And when the show was first announced, that was when he said, yeah, it's going to be at least 100 episodes. You're like, 100 episodes of Clone Wars. And trust me, when I read that back in 2005, I thought, he's batshit crazy. There is no way you're going to make 100 episodes about something that happened between two movies. But it's like, it worked. It really did. And I think it was like the later half of the show, in particular, because they then done the final season just a few months ago, which was...
that's what people are talking about, the final season.
Yeah. It's kind of like the bridge between what comes up at the end of... it kind of like ties in more with Revenge of the Sith and going into Star Wars Rebels. So there is some time between them two. But it's definitely worth a watch. I was very skeptical that they were bringing it back, because I thought, they kind of went from having it as like this almost like anthology style show to going, we're going to have a full running narrative on it. But yeah, it ended up being really good, really fun. Rebels was really good as well. So
I'll give that a go. It's just I'll have to par through it and stuff. At the minute, it's just sort of like it's a bit hit and miss for me and stuff. So I'll see.
Yeah.
Rick says, I just thought Manifest was so bad. It started well with 4 or 5 episodes, but it downward spiraled so fast when there was never recovered. Just one Meg's opinion though. Meg. Yeah. So.
But then, do you know what? Because I told you before, haven't I, about my admiration for The Walking Dead. That's a show that I've stuck with all the way through. So even like during the height of the pandemic, they done a sort of like a mini series almost to like fill the time between seasons 10 and 11. They sort of done these like very like low key episodes where they'd only have like a few actors on each episode. It was like made to progress the storytelling. I think just set up what was coming forward, and for the most part worked really well. But Walking Dead came back last week, and it's still pretty good.
It bored the shit out of me after, like, I think I got to a point where I loved it. I absolutely loved it, to the point, like, where me and my housemate and stuff would watch it every week. And then it just got to the point where it just got so formulaic and so boring. And it was just like you get one good episode at the start, you'd maybe get a half decent one in the middle, and then you get a half decent one at the end. But then it was just full of filler of stuff that you didn't give a fuck about, with characters you didn't care about, doing stupid stuff, and you're just like, I don't care about this. And they were just filling it out. And I think I'm trying to think what the last episode, when Carl died. I think when Carl died is one of the last episodes, and that's like, I can't be arsed with this anymore. I'm bored. Yeah. It's just boring the hell out of me and stuff. I don't, my mate would tell me about the comics and stuff and some of the other things, and he's like, oh, this is going to come up, and this is going to come up. This is, man, I can't be arsed watching a million episodes just for 3 good episodes, and just,
I think when because obviously I love the comics. Whenever the comics came out, I'd read them day one. I literally just go through the whole book, and I'd be like, yep, done. On to the next bit. And this is it now. The show is pretty much now to where the comics came to its end. So it's sort of now been like the last, I don't know, I'd say like the last 12 to 18 issues now, where they're sort of like trying to sink in the next part. So I'm hoping that they're going to finish off really well. I'm hoping that it's going to have some good some good end. The only thing I know is that they are planning. They're planning another spin-off, which is going to be with Daryl and Carol, which is fine, I guess, but I don't know if I'd really be that invested on that side of it, because you already know that going into the end of this series, that them two are definitely going to survive then. I gave up with Fear the Walking Dead, because I enjoyed that at first, and then it went really stupid, and then it got a little bit better, and then it went really bad again. So I was like, no, that's a no-no. But I think it's like what I did with Arrow. You know, I got through a show and I was like, it had its ups, it had its downs, but I was determined to get to the end of it. But as soon as Arrow finished, I didn't watch any more of the DC superhero shows from the CW. I just sort of stopped from that point. It was like, I just, you know, the main show that I started watching has now come to its end. I've seen that story thread come to its natural conclusion. Everything else was just like, yeah, this is just getting too stupid now. I just can't be bothered with it.
Rick says The Walking Dead had major lulls in each season, but I think had been decent as a whole. The whole Whisperers injected a new life into it. And the last season was almost as good as the early seasons, definitely choosing to end it at the right time as it has run its course now. But 2 of the pandemic episodes were fantastic.
Yeah, Joe, what? There was one of them which was all about Negan.
Yeah.
And talking about him and his wife, Lucille. So this was set just early in the pandemic. Although, funny enough, you know, Negan doesn't look like he's about 12 or 13 years younger, and he still looks basically the same. But that was a really good episode. That was quite a, you know, The Walking Dead is not a show that you really have that kind of upset. Obviously, you have upset when a character gets killed or something. But in this one, you find that Negan doesn't necessarily start off as a bad guy. He is a bit of an arsehole. He's a bit of like a low-level criminal, bit of a petty thief, whatever. But you find out that his wife is going through chemotherapy. He's trying to obviously like do the chemo himself to keep her alive. And you know, he's doing everything he can. And when she does eventually die, he snaps. He takes the baseball bat known as Lucille, and he smashes shit up. You know, and that's how he becomes the character that we know.
I'll maybe go back at some point in time. It's just I was getting so bored of all the same sort of things. Find place to survive. Shit happens.
Yeah. Who did you say really enjoyed the last season? Did you say Rick?
Yeah, Rick Ward.
Right, I will say, because I'm going to try and guess what episodes he said he enjoyed. I'm going to guess he really liked the Negan one, because I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
And the other one that I really enjoyed was there's a newish character in the series, one that's been in the comics. Well, I think she came in sort of at the same time as the comics. A character called Princess.
Yeah, that's what he said as well.
Yeah. See, that was good. That was a good guess.
Yeah.
She is fucking nuts. But she's like, her episode was really good because they get taken over by this group that's going to be more prominent in the last series. And they're all locked away in like train carts. So she, like throughout the episode, she's trying to interact with them. So there's one that's locked in a cart on the opposite side. There's one that's sort of like wandering around the grounds as she's trying to talk to them. One breaks in to try and get her to escape. And it's a very psychological episode. It's very messed up. It's very hard to keep track of what's going on during its runtime. But it was so well done. And because it's a character that I enjoyed in the comics as well, to see her get that spotlight, even if it is just that one episode, it was like, yeah, damn good, well done. And these episodes only got made because of the pandemic. You know, that was because otherwise you would have had like a 1.5 year gap between one season and the other.
What's the score? Obviously, because Rick isn't in it anymore and stuff. So how does that affect it?
Oh, that's a very good question. Well, what they did, which I think was really weird, they kind of said he's going off on his own adventure. When they did that, they said, "Oh, we're gonna do a Rick Grimes Walking Dead movie," and then they said, "Oh, yeah, we're actually gonna do a trilogy of Rick Grimes Walking Dead movies." So far, they haven't started filming anything, and we're going back 3 years now from when this was supposed to have started. I kind of think that they're going to bring him back for the end of the series because I think that would work to tie it up. I think they have to have something that's going to really bring this to a neat conclusion. But they are doing the final series is 24 episodes, and they're doing it in three lots of 8 episodes. So you got the first 8 that's currently happening now, the second lot, which I think is about February or March next year, and then the last one around about July August time again. So it won't be till like September next year when the series does actually come to its end.
I might wait till then and just sort of kind of catch up, because I could just skip through the dross that I don't enjoy and get to the sort of kind of main stuff. Because it was just annoying having to wait all week for something. It's just like, I don't care what side character is doing, trying to cross a bridge or something. I just want to know what's happening with the main camp and blah 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 and Negan and stuff. And it's just like, I just don't care about these people, and it's doing nothing for me other than being filler. So we'll see. I think this was it.
So many, but it's not just The Walking Dead. A lot of shows did this, didn't they? You know, they say, "Oh, you've got a so many episode order, right?" So these little side characters, we better give them their own episode, otherwise, you know, we're fucked. We've got nothing to go on.
Look, I've always said, you know, for me, they should have just done it shorter and had a little bit more sort of. They didn't need to expedite everything that these people were doing and stuff. They could have just had sort of a fewer episodes, you know, maybe thrown in some bits and pieces now and again with that. But, you know, you just full episodes on it. And I was just like, oh my God, nothing's happening. This is so boring. And I just got fed up. I just got fed up. I was like, I'm done with it now.
Yeah. Do you know, funny enough, I still have this on DVD. I started rewatching it. 2007, 2008, there was on Sci-Fi, they done a Flash Gordon TV series.
No.
Don't know if you remember that.
No.
Oh my fucking God. Let's just be honest. It's bad. It was one of these ones that they made a 22 episode series, and I've got to be honest, the first few episodes were quite enjoyable. It was very ropey CGI. There was very, very bad acting in it. But that kind of just made me think, you know, my love of the 1980 film. So I was like, I can get along with that. As the show went on, I got to about episode 6, episode 7. It was just like, what the fuck is going on? There's no progression. There's no advance on this storyline. It's like basically they took the film, like they took the 2-hour film and decided to do it over 22 hours of TV. And it just really dragged because it was just like there was no movement at all. And every time they could get around any CGI, if they could go, oh no, we're just going to set this bit on Earth now because, you know, Earth doesn't need CGI, doesn't need anything too fancy. And then whenever, you know, they're going between worlds, it's like, oh, very quick flash. Yep, no, back onto this very weird, dull setting, which, you know, we're just going to use for the whole series now. We're going to just use this room, nothing else. I tell you what, it's worth a watch just to see how bad it was. And it was one of them shows that I watched it, and I watched it all the way to the end because I was like, you know, I put so much time into it already. I got to that last episode, I was like, for fuck's sake, please do not let there be a season 2. I will just fucking go mental. And when it was about a week after they'd aired the last episode, they said, yes, sadly, the show will not be returning for a second series. I thought no one was sad to see that go. There was no chance.
There's loads. The thing is, there's loads of series out there that I'm sad never got a second season. Like, what's the one with Carl Urban as a copper with the robot?
Almost Human.
Yeah, that was all. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really good. I was gutted that I started watching it and then it says it's not got another season. And then Limitless, the series of Limitless, was really good as well. And it never got a sort of another one, which is upsetting because I really enjoyed that as well.
I think, surprisingly, I really enjoyed the US version of Life on Mars.
I didn't see that.
You know what? Because the first couple of episodes were pretty much rip-offs of the BBC version. And then they kind of went with their own spin. They did tell some very good stories. But it was the final episode, because this was when the writer's strike was happening. So they had to tie it up. But I think they got told so much in advance, right, the viewing figures haven't been good. This will be your last episode. Do whatever you can. And have you watched the original BBC series of Life on Mars?
Bits and pieces, not loads.
All right. So just for context, the first series basically, you know, ends with a bit of a cliffhanger. Sam Tyler, after being in 1973, returns to his own time, but then kind of comes back. Something happens in between. Now, how Life on Mars US version ends is instead of it being that Sam Tyler has been in a coma, been in a car crash, whatever, it turns out he's a spaceman. He is on a mission to Mars, of all things. And because it's such a long journey, him and his crewmates, they're put into a virtual reality to help keep their minds working. But something happens to the spaceship, and his program, which had him in 2007, somehow messed it up, and he went into 1973. And then every now and again, it kept glitching back to the 2007 side, and that's why he thought he was time traveling. But it turned out, no, he was a spaceman in the far future, and yeah, and it just went even weirder from there. To turn out that his commanding officer in the show was actually his father, who he'd had a lot of upset and disapproval from. But at the end, when you see, it was Harvey Keitel that played his dad as well.
Right.
Such a fine actor. There's the final shot where you see him as they're about to walk on the surface of Mars, and they're all going out in their spacesuits and everything. But as Harvey Keitel's character, the Gene, because they didn't even change the names of the characters, the Gene Hunt character, as he takes his step onto the ground, he's wearing like he's like Cuban shoe. He's got his flare trousers on as he takes the step. It's basically going, well, maybe we're not out of the simulation just yet.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck did you just do? You actually had a competent series and you bollocked it up right at the last second. And that's a shame, because I really did enjoy Life on Mars. It wasn't as good as the BBC version. Obviously, I loved that. But, that American series, up to that point, I was like, this is going really good. If they make a second series of this, I'd be all in for it. No, this was absolute dog shit.
Yeah, well, there we go. Right. We've been banging on for about an hour and a half, which is good.
I'll tell you what, but not actually having a plan, we didn't do too bad.
Yeah, we didn't do too bad.
Oh, man. I'll tell you what, as soon as this finished, because, it's bank holiday weekend, and I don't really get many opportunities on a Sunday night where I go, yeah, Joe, I don't feel tired now. So I'm gonna get onto the games,
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that as well.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna get back on Aliens. Funny enough,
I've got to build. Actually, I'm building a spreadsheet at the minute, so I'm probably going to be nerdy and carry on building a spreadsheet. Which is brilliant. I hate doing stuff that I do in work outside of work, because it's like I'm just working. But I've been meaning to do it for ages, so I'm probably going to do that and maybe play some Aliens later on and stuff. But yeah. But it's been totes of mosh. Thanks a lot. Cheers to everybody who's been watching. We had a fair few today, which is quite good. Mr. Ward, good to see you on the comments again, man. Thanks a lot for joining us. Much appreciated for all the comments and stuff. For myself, I've been Matt Geary. And with me tonight has been John Joe Cosgrove.
And an absolute pleasure it's been as well.
Night, everybody. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.